We're here to fight for Canada. An independent Canada would stand for the things that most Canadians want and believe in. A caring and sharing society, a country which stands for peace, a Canada which supports social justice for the global south, including redistribution of wealth so that children can live past the age of 5, and a country which leads the world in ending greenhouse gases that cause climate change disasters. But this is not what they want. I'm referring to the corporate elites who run this country and want it integrated into the American way of doing things. Giving the US first access to Canadian oil and gas and leaving the toxic ponds in Alberta. Acting as deputy sheriff to the Texas Ranger who invades countries they want Canada to act as deputy sheriff to the Texas Ranger who invades other countries to get other people's oil. How did US oil get under Iraqi sands and Alberta's tar sands? When Bush coughs, Stephen Harper stands to attention. We're here to inform Canadians about the Security and Prosperity Partnership. Most Canadians have never heard about it because it has such a boring name, and that's the way they want it. Score 1 for them. But dangerous things come wrapped in bland packages. Guys in suits met behind doors to hatch the SPP agreement in Waco, Texas. And it really is a wacko agreement. The idea is that if Canada follows the Bush agenda of aggression abroad and suppression at home, then Canadian exports will get into the US. What a ridiculous idea. You don't have to be friends with the United States to export to them. Last year, China surpassed Canada as the #1 exporter to the US. Is China friends with the United States? Did China give up its sovereignty so it could export to the US? No. The US trades with China because it's in their interest to do so. Canada has no need to give up its sovereignty. Venezuela is the #4 exporter of oil to the US. Does the American government like the Hugo Chavez government? No. They buy Venezuelan oil anyway. Why? Because the US will not give up its gas-guzzling ways to fill its SUVs and its military machine. Should we worry that the US will not buy Canadian oil and gas? No. We don't have to enter into an SPP to get them to buy our resources. They would buy them even if we had a progressive government which was sovereign and supported sharing values run by the people of Canada. But the question is, should Canada sell energy resources to the US anyways when Eastern Canadians could run short in an oil supply crisis? And why export jobs? We should be making products here in Canada. It's important, of course, to inform people about the SPP, but in fact, the best defense is an offense. And NAFTA is a great opportunity to defeat the SPP. If you remember, the NAFTA is the foundation. That is the building, the first floor. And the SPP was going to be a superstructure that they would put on top of that. If we can pull down the NAFTA, the floor, the superstructure will fall on top of it. If you remember, Obama has promised to reopen NAFTA and to use the hammer, as he said, of the 6-month clause to get out of NAFTA if the US doesn't get its way. Well, that's fair deal. That's great. Let's hope that he gets elected and follows through with that. And if the US brings its issues to the table, Canada must bring its own issues. And one of the main ones is energy, is NAFTA and the proportionality clause. The proportionality clause says that Canada must continue to export the same share that we have in the last 3 years. So that's 2/3 of our oil and 60% of our natural gas. What it means is that another country has first access to Canadian resources. And even if we're short of energy, we still must export that same proportion. We import almost 50% of our oil to Eastern Canada, and almost half of that comes from OPEC countries, and a growing share from OPEC countries. That's a much higher share than the Americans get from OPEC. If Israel bombs Iran after the November election, which is rumored, the Straits of Hormuz could be closed and Eastern Canadians could be freezing in the dark in November, December. Canada has no plans to deal with this. Now, our Prime Minister says that Canada is an energy superpower. Do you believe him? What do you call a place where the people do not have first access to their own resources, but in fact gives that to a more powerful country? A colony, a satellite, or a colony. That's the definition of a colony. Right. When you can't control your level of exports, when you can't control the price at which you buy back your own resources from foreign-owned oil companies, you know you're not an energy superpower. What we need is a Canada First policy where we supply our own citizens first. And we need this also to cut greenhouse gases. Because at the moment, if we cut consumption in Canada, which we must, of fossil fuels, it's going to mean greater exports to the US. And then the proportion will be even higher that we have to export. So we should be cutting consumption, and production should be falling at the same rate that we cut fossil fuel consumption in Canada. That's why we need energy sovereignty and a Canada First policy. Yeah. We have to make getting out of NAFTA an election issue. When the party leaders or MPs go around, talk about getting out of NAFTA and the proportionality clause. I want to finish off talking about the election. There is a great danger that the Harper Conservatives will win a majority. And I have a great fear that they will sink us so far into the United States we will have difficulty getting out. We can and must do something in Edmonton. All 7 seats are held by the Conservatives. If we can defeat 1 or 2 or 3 of them, it will help deny Harper a majority, and we must do our part. The WACO agreement is a corporate plan to undermine Canadian democracy, rule by the people. You know, what a novel idea, rule by the people. And democracy is all we have to ensure that the environment comes before corporate profits. Be sure to vote, or else the corporations will win. And get your friends out to vote. Well, how to vote? Well, you have to figure it out. But Harper's Conservatives are pro-corporate and do Bush's bidding. The Liberals aren't much better. They signed the WACO agreement. That leaves the New Democrats and the Greens. Neither are in the pockets of the corporations. I wanted to finish off asking you a few questions about the SPP. Do you want Canada to adopt U.S. refugee laws that bar most Latin American political refugees from entering Canada? No. Do you want Canada to adopt U.S. regulations which leaves more pesticides and fruit and vegetables imported into Canada? No. Should Eastern Canadians depend on foreign oil imports so we can export more oil to the U.S.? No. Do you want Canada to be America's gas tank, supplying them with unlimited and dirty tar sands oil so they can keep their addiction to oil? No. No. Should we export our water? No. Do you want Canada to be a sovereign and more democratic country? Yes. Do you want Canada to become a post-carbon society which protects all life forms and nature? Yes. Do you want Canadian governments to stand alongside Mexico and say no to U.S. domination and yes to cross-border ties with the people of the 3 North American countries? No. We must wake up Canadians to what is at stake. Tell your friends, write your MP, join a political party, the Council of Canadians, Parkland Institute, agitate, do whatever is necessary to defeat the SPP. Once we do, Canada will truly be North, strong and free.